It was literally approximately 7 years ago when I was invited to appear on a local talk show. And I was invited to appear on this talk show to talk about the impact of 9/11 on the millennial generation. They wanted me to come on and talk about how has 9/11 impacted the millennial generation. And the reason they wanted me to go on this particular show is because I wrote a book, my third book. It was called A Call to Action, 14 Highly Effective Leadership Principles for Leaders of Millennials. And then another book called Vision, The Answer to Generations X and Y. And so I've done a lot of research on the millennial generation, a lot of research on different generations in general. And so they wanted me to come on and to be an expert on that particular subject. And so I'm getting prepared for this appearance on TV. And it's really interesting that when you go on TV, you're only going to have about 5 minutes, but sometimes you got to prepare for like 3 or 4 hours. And so I'm prepared because I don't want to look stupid. You know what I'm saying? So I'm getting ready to go on the show, and I'm looking through research, and I'm looking through my notes, and I discover a reoccurring theme. In essence, I was just blown away just seeing it, but I was just studying, minding my own business, going through the research, and a reoccurring theme just jumped out to me. And the reoccurring theme was 3 words, and it was rebuilding, reformation, and change. In essence, in this moment of research and preparation, these 3 words stuck out to me: rebuilding, reformation, and change. In essence, if you were to go back to 2001 and we were to come up now to 2014, you will discover that this has been a reoccurring theme in our nation. For instance, if we go back to 2001, there was the 9/11 attack. And immediately after the 9/11 attack, we found ourselves not only rebuilding people's lives in New York, but just rebuilding the way in which we live and rebuilding and bouncing back from what had devastated our country. In 2002 is when you begin to hear about the divorce rate. 50% of people, of marriages ending in divorce. And we begin to hear a lot about rebuilding family in America, rebuilding marriage, and even redefining what marriage is. In 2003, we found ourselves in the war in Iraq. And when George Bush said, we're going to Iraq to war. And at the end of that war, you found us rebuilding lives and rebuilding community in Iraq. Some will say, oh yeah. Oh yeah. In 2004, there was a popular slogan, and it was entitled, Rebuilding a Stronger America. So in 2004, this word keeps coming up, and this was in the general election. In 2005, for some of you that understand, there was Hurricane Katrina. And you remember we had to rebuild New Orleans, and we had to rebuild people's lives, and people were misplaced all throughout the country. In 2006, there was education reform and immigration reform, what the president talked about last night. But there was education reform and immigration reform. So again, we're seeing this reoccurring theme of reformation and rebuilding. In 2007, we had global warming and climate change. You begin to hear more about global warming and climate change. Again, changing the way in which we live, changing the way in which we use resources, changing our lifestyles. In 2008, the popular slogan was change, change. You heard change, change we can see in America. In 2009, we had economic reform. If you remember, we were dealing with the economy and how can we reform the economy? Someone say, oh yeah. In 2010, if you remember, we had the earthquake in Haiti. There was a major earthquake in Haiti. About hundreds and thousands of people died. And so we were going to that country and we were helping people, especially in the South Florida area. In 2011, we had Wall Street reform. Remember when the people were out there, Occupy Wall Street? And they were in New York City and they were picketing all these days. And then in 2012, one of the popular things was job creation and rebuilding the job market. So now we're creating new jobs and we're rebuilding things in the workplace, even reforming the workplace, how you work, what you do. In 2013, healthcare reform. Y'all still here? So the healthcare reform. So you're seeing this pattern of rebuilding, of reformation, and of change. And I know this will relate to all of you. And this year we're hearing about student loan reform. Someone say, oh yeah. Oh, yeah. So what we're finding is over this 14-year, 15-year period, there's been a common theme of change, rebuilding, and reformation. And although there are tons of more issues, I mean, we can go in this whole room and talk a variety of issues that we can bring up. It's very interesting that some of the national issues are the very issues that have affected us all. And it all revolves around this concept of reformation, of rebuilding, and of change. So what does that mean? That means if we're going to be effective leaders of the 21st century, if we're going to obtain career and personal success, then we got to be leaders that understand how to lead in a time of change. That's going good now. If we're going to obtain personal success, if we're going to obtain leadership success, if we're going to reach our fullest potential, and if things are changing and there's rebuilding going on and there's reformation going on, and I mean even the way in which we live, if it's changing, then as leaders that are responsible for serving and empowering other people, we got to be flexible and understand how to lead in a time where change is rampant, reformation is occurring, and things are being rebuilt. Someone say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
So my goal today, where I'm ready to go, my goal today is I'm going to provide you with 5 things. Someone say 5 things.
5 things.
I'm going to give you 5 leadership concepts to consider if you're going to be an effective leader in a time of reformation, rebuilding, and change. Someone say change. I'm going to give you 5 today, and of course, there's many more. You're going to hear about many more, but these are the 5 that stuck out to me. And again, I got a book with 40 questions, but these are the 5. Someone say, these are the 5. These are the 5 we're going to dive into today. So if you're ready, give someone a high five and say, let's go, let's go, let's go. Now give me a group high five and say, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Awesome. First, we're going to ask ourselves, the first thing we want to go into, if we're going to lead in a time of change, reformation, and rebuilding, is we're going to ask ourselves the question: can you let go of past experiences? It's going to get good here because I've never talked about this ever in my speaking career, and for whatever reason, I was inspired to talk about it today. It's going to get good, man. So the first question we got to ask ourselves is: can you let go of past experiences? If we're going to change, if we're going to rebuild, if there's going to be reformation, then there's going to be some stuff we're going to have to get rid of. And getting rid of some past things is not just negative. There's some positive things we're going to have to get rid of. Because there's certain things that got you to this level that won't get you to the next level. And a lot of times when we deal with past and we deal with past experiences, we always think about the negative experiences. We think about the failure. We think about abuse and a variety of other issues that really can affect our growth and affect us from becoming who we're destined to become. And again, you got to get rid of some of that stuff. If someone says something negative, got to get rid of it. If someone said you'll never amount to nothing, got to get rid of it. If someone said you're going to be a failure, get rid of it. If the haters are talking loud right now, get rid of it. But in addition to that, there's some good things that have got you to this point. There's some things you've done that have got you to this point. There's some friends that have got you to this point. But in order for you to go to the next level, you're going to have to change some people that you talk to. You're going to have to change some of your conversation. Some of the things that got you here may not get you to that future dream in the future. Some of the knowledge that got you here may not get you to that position that you have in your future. And so as leaders in a time of change, in a time of reformation, and in a time of rebuilding, we have to be able not only to let go of the bad, but let go of the good. Someone said it good. And this is why T.D. Jakes, he was on Oprah Life Class, and he said, and I quote, very powerful quote, he says, when people hold on to the toughest moments of their past, they are shortchanging their future. He says, when we hold on to past challenges and experiences and fears and just things that didn't work out the way that we wanted them to work out. Maybe it's forgiveness. Maybe I got to forgive someone. Maybe I got to let something go. I don't know what it is, but if we don't get rid of those past experiences, he says it destroys our future. Because the very person that did you wrong may come in another form of someone that's similar to that person, but is not that person. You know, it's amazing to me that a lot of times we allow our hurt and our mistakes, watch this, and our fears and past failures stop us from doing stuff again. If Thomas Edison had the concept that because I failed once, I'm never going to do it again, then we would have light bulbs today. If Steve Jobs had the concept that because I got fired from my job, I'm going to give up on my dreams, we wouldn't have Apple today. If Michael Jordan had the concept that because I got cut from my sophomore basketball team, I'm going to stop playing basketball, he would have never done what he did. And so in essence, we got to be able to get rid of the negative past. And in reality, the negative past and the negative situations are actually a setup for something better. You got to always remember, failure is a preparation for success. Watch this. And rejection is actually direction to something better. So the fact that something went wrong means that there's something better that I got to get ready for. So instead of focusing on my past, let me get ready for the new thing. Christine Kane says this. She says, sometimes you have to let go of the things that worked in the past in order to progress to the next level. Maybe there was some stuff I learned from my parents that won't work in the 21st century. Maybe I'm part of a cultural organization that was very successful in the 60s, but in the 21st century, that type of style and strategy doesn't work no more. See, the thing we got to be aware of is we got to be aware that as culture changes, as society changes, as we grow and as we develop, you have to be flexible. And there's some moments you got to get rid of not only the bad, but the things that got you to where you are at. I'll never forget in my life, I'll never forget this. This is me at the University of Akron, and I'm speaking before 4,000 people. 4,000 people this year, and I'm doing an orientation on healthy relationships. And over the past 2 years, my entire speaking business has literally doubled and quadrupled, and it's just been absolutely incredible. But I'll never forget there was a point where I used to be a part of this college, and I used to teach every single night, and I just loved this. Loved it. It was like, it was like going to Disneyland or something. I love talking in this class. And I'll never forget, my schedule started to get busy, and the director was like, Josh, we're going to have to let you go. And I was just upset. It's like, no. It's like, no, I just feel in my heart I just feel in my heart. I'm like, who are you listening to? But he said, I feel in my heart to let you go. And at the point, I was really bothered because, this is the place, this is the greatness. Again, although it's not big, it's still incredible. We got to be careful that we don't take the small things for granted. The small family, the friends, the experiences. That stuff was good to me. But he said, it's time for you to go. So I was hurt, and I was upset, and I was mad. I was mad. I really was mad. But as I look back 2 years, every time I did that class, I discovered my schedule was too booked for me to do it anyways. So in essence, I had to let it go, because if I didn't let it go, I didn't open myself up to what I was really going after in the first place. It was just a place to prepare me for where I was going. And so at some point, I'm hitting someone's Kool-Aid right now. At some point, when I'm in the preparation stage, I got to let it go because there's something greater for me. But sometimes to go from the preparation to true destiny, it requires me to be uncomfortable. And it's easier to be in comfortability than it is to be in something uncomfortable. And it's why Jim Collins says in his quote that I said, he said, good is an enemy of great. Why? Because in order to go from good to great, it requires uncomfortability. And it's more comfortable to stay in the good spot than to go in uncomfortability and go after the great spot. And so the question becomes, what are you looking at? Do you want good or do you want great? Because if I want great, then I'm going to have to let go of some stuff that's comfortable, that's good, that's wonderful. I'm going to have to let it go because the good is preparing me for the great. So in essence, I really need to go back and hug that person that had the courage to tell me your time is up. Because if he never did that, then I may have never left. And if I never left, I may have not experienced what I'm experiencing today. So sometimes you gotta love your haters. Sometimes that person that made you get out your comfort zone, you gotta love them. Because what they are doing is they're pushing you into your destiny. And you got to be careful. Don't get caught up in the preparation and miss the destiny. Don't get caught up in the comfortable and miss the greatness. Because I'm telling you today, oh, I feel so inspired. I'm telling you today, greatness is in front of you. Greatness is ahead of you. But if you're going to experience greatness, if you're going to be an effective leader of the 21st century, at some point, you're going to have to get rid of your past hurts. And you're going to have to get rid of some things that were good, but they're not great. Someone say, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Give yourselves a round of applause. So the first key point that you got to write down, here, this first key point of the weekend, what in my past do I have to let go to the next level? That's your question. That's your discussion. What in my past do I have to let go to the next level? Someone say, oh, yeah. Second concept, here we go. Second thing you got to do is you got to be able to create a fresh vision. Someone say a fresh vision. Now, again, when we deal with leadership, and I've been talking about vision for years, when I deal with leadership, most people understand that you must have a vision. Got to have a vision. If you don't have a vision, you might as well give up leadership, because the foundation of great leadership is vision. Someone say vision. And when I define vision, here goes a good definition. I define vision as a clear, concise, compelling picture or image of your future. So a vision is something that's clear, it's concise, it's a picture or image of my future. And watch this, it's something that I am passionate about. Are y'all still here? But the other aspect of vision and relationship to reformation, to change and rebuilding, is you have to have an ability to come into a chaotic situation and create vision that changes the situation. See, a lot of people can come into a successful thing and say, I have vision. But my question is, can you go into some of the worst companies, the worst organizations, and the worst communities and create a vision that transforms? Because if we're rebuilding, that means something is being destroyed. If we're dealing with change, that means that there's something that's going to have to go, there's something that's going to have to stay, and in order to do that, we got to be able to create the vision for what we're rebuilding, what we're reforming, and what we're changing. So when we deal with this concept of vision, not only should you have a vision, but now the question is, can you go into a community, can you go into an organization, can you go into a third world country, and can you create a vision that ultimately makes it better and ultimately makes a lasting impact in that space? That's the question. Why? Because when you think about leaders who have rebuilt, when you think about leaders that have changed things, when you think about leaders that have brought reformation, reform, restructure, realign, a new way of doing things, you will find that they had vision. They had an ability to assess, to think about, and create a fresh vision that inspired people, that moved people, and made something better. And the reason they understood this concept of vision is because they have learned that vision is the foundation for success. If you're going to be successful in your career, if you're going to be successful in your personal life, if you're going to be successful as a leader, it all begins with a vision. I tell people all the time, you will only go as far as what you can see. So the more you can see, the farther you will go. It's why Gandhi says, and I quote, he says, be the change that you wish to see in the world. Notice what he says. Be the change that you wish to, someone say, see. He has to see it. I can't create the change until I first see it. So based on what you see, he says, become that. So if I'm going to create change in the world, I must first see. Someone say, see. See. Woodrow Wilson says in a quote, no man or woman that does not see visions will ever realize any high hope or undertake any high enterprise. He said, if you want to do big things, if you want to do something incredible, he said, you must have a vision. Someone say vision. Brian Tracy, one of the most respected motivational speakers in the country, he says vision was the most identifiable leadership quality of leadership after 33,000 studies. 33,000 studies of leadership, according to Brian Tracy. He said vision was the most identifiable, which means if I'm going to be an effective leader of the 21st century, I must have a vision. I must have a vision, and I must know how to come into a chaotic situation and create a vision that inspires people, that moves people, and enables me to rebuild, to reform, and ultimately bring change. Say change. Here goes my story. I love this story. For some of you may have not heard, there's a ministry. It's international, and it's just everywhere. It's called Hillsong. Anybody ever heard of Hillsong? Raise your hand. Hillsong. Okay, so a lot of people know about Hillsong. It's a phenomenal story. It's a phenomenal movement in the Christianity sector, and it's a phenomenal movement because 33 years ago there was a local pastor that had a church in Australia. He was in Australia, not even in America. He was in Australia, and he had a small church, but he had a big vision. Someone say small. But big vision. Say small, but big vision. So he has a small church, but he has this big vision. And so what he begins to do, man, I get inspired here, man. So what he begins to do is begins to write out the vision. And the vision is not based on his current situation. So you should never allow the vision to be based on where you are. The vision shall move you. It shall challenge you. That's what it should do. And so he begins to write out the vision. He begins to write it out. It's big. It's audacious. He's writing out this vision in Australia to be across the entire world. Writes out this vision. So I'm in New York, and I had the opportunity to visit one of his many churches across the world. And the guy gets up, and he begins to put the vision statement on the screen. And he says, 30 years ago, this man in Australia wrote out a vision that was big. He dared to believe something that was bigger than him. He didn't know how it was going to happen, but he believed it could actually happen. Can you write a vision that's so big that you don't know how it's going to happen, but you know it's going to happen? Can you envision something in your life that's big, so big, you don't know how, but it can happen? Whew, man, I hope you're catching it. So he writes it down. And 30 years later, as this young man who's about 35 years of age, who was probably about 2 years old when this man started writing the vision, stands up as one of the leaders of this vision, and he talks about how it was written 30 years ago and it's actually become a reality today. 30 years, something was written and it's become a reality today. Oh, I'm in something right now. How many of you today are sitting with a vision for generations 30 and 50 years down the line? Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Give yourselves a round of applause. This is where he's at. He had a vision 30 and 50 years down the line, and the vision is flourishing, and the vision is impactful, and the vision is making an impact because there was a point in his life where he was in your seat, he was in your chairs, and although his situation didn't coincide with where his future was, he dared to write it down. He dared to look at the haters and say, it's still going to happen. He dared to look at the bad experience, it's still going to happen. He dared to look at his finances, it's still going to happen. He dared to look at his abuse, it's still going to happen. He dared to look at the people that said he was stupid, it's still going to happen. He dared to look at fear, it's still going to happen. He dared to look at his struggle, it's still going to happen. He dared to look at something that was contrary to what was on the inside of his mind and believed it enough to happen that he wrote it down. So my question today is this question: what's your vision? I'm not talking about the vision your mom gave you. What's your vision? I'm not talking about the vision your father gave you. What's your vision? And for those of you who say, I don't know what my vision is, someone say, get a vision. Get a vision. Because inside of you is a vision to change the world. Inside of you is a vision to make our community, our nation, and our world a better place. One speaker once says, and I quote, he says that every time a child is born, a solution is brought into the world. Meaning when you were born, you already came with a solution. The problem is we have a lot of problems in the world today because not enough people have discovered the solution on the inside. What would happen if we all discovered our solutions to problems in the world? We don't ever know what. Maybe we have a cure for diseases. Maybe we have help a third world country. Maybe we change some policies in the White House. Who knows what can happen if we would find the solution? Because the reality is you were born to make the world a better place. If you ever study purpose, I'm out of my notes, but here we go. If you ever study purpose, your purpose is to give. The reason you were born is to give. but we can't give at the level we're supposed to give if we don't discover what's on the inside to give. So I got to find my strength. I got to find my vision. I got to find my dream. I got to find my cause. What matters to you? What do you care about? Another one of my mentors says, and I quote, and he says, the thing that irritates you most is the thing you're called to solve. So whatever gets on your last nerves, maybe you have the solution. That's why it gets on your nerves. That's why I tell people all the time, well, they don't need to be wearing that. They don't need to be doing this. Why their hair look like that? Why are they acting like this? I can't stand people who pick their nails. You know, all that kind of stuff. Maybe you're the one to help them in a loving way. Someone say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Someone say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Give someone a high five and say, number three. If you're having a good time, give yourself a big round of applause. So we're getting rid of our past. We have our vision. And the third thing we're going to ask ourselves is, do you have exceptional character? Someone say character. Now, when we deal with character, a majority of people are going to say character is your morals and your values. Character is integrity. Character is humility. Character is respect. Character is ethical decision-making. Character is doing the right thing. Character is treating people right. Character is love. We're going to hear all of that, and that is absolutely a part of character. Someone say character. But there's a part of character we don't talk about much, and I learned this in my master's program, and I've used it ever since. And Dr. Henry Cloud, he says, and I quote, he says, character is when a leader is able to meet the demands of the people and the task in an excellent manner. I have character when I'm able to do the job, when I'm able to meet the demands of the people in which I serve as a leader. Let me make it more clear. Character means I'm responsible. Character means I'm dependable. Character means that no matter how late I got to work, if I signed up for the job, I'm going to get it done. Character means that if I expect others to have integrity, I'm going to have integrity. Character means that when I have a position, I'm going to do what I have to do to possess the competence for the job. You know, one of the craziest things in the world to me is when people lie on their resumes. They say, do you want the job? And they say, yes. And they say, can you do it? Yes, I can. But once I get the job, I'm going to figure it out. Wait a minute. If I hire you and you really don't know how to do it, if you mess up, you're messing me up. You're messing me up. And we got to be aware of this as leaders. You got to be aware of this as leaders when you're creating your team. Because if you put one bad apple in the bunch, it can mess everything up. So you want people with character, not only with the right values, but they actually have the ability to do the job. And why is this important? Character is important because leaders set the example. You're the example for everybody else. Leaders raise the standard. But even more importantly, without character, it's impossible to reach your fullest potential as a leader. I didn't say this. Actually, Starbucks said it. Howard Schultz said, I quote, he said, without character, nothing else matters. He says, you can be gifted, you can have the networking skills, you can have the relationship, whatever the case may be, whatever you need, the vision, the strategic action plan, you can have everything that you want. But if you're not honest, if you're not respectful, if you're not someone that gets the job done the way in which you're expected to get the job done, if you're not giving your best every single day, then that can affect your impact as a leader. You can be the most honest person in the world, but if you don't get the job done, people are going to be mad at you. See, you've been a part of an organization before, and you've dealt with people that are unfaithful and unloyal and undependable. Anybody been there before? Is that very frustrating? Yes. Is that very irritating? Yes. I mean, it just bothers you. And they can be the most genuine person, nice and sweet, but if you can't get the job done, I need to get someone else. Another thing said about character, leadership challenge, they talk about modeling the way. So you got to model the way. Leaders model the way. Leaders set the example. And then Helen Keller says, and I quote, she said, character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved. She says character is built in the challenges. We know who you are based on what you do when things get tough. See, it's easy to say, I have integrity. Okay. Your job's on the line. Company says, either you lie to keep your job or we're firing you. Do you have integrity? You're in a powerful position. You say, I believe in humility. But you get on the bus and you treat the bus driver like he's nothing because he can't do nothing for you. You said, I have compassion. Really? Well, you have an account of $100,000 and someone's on the street in need. You can't even give them $10? You want to keep going? I love people. Really? Well, do you love someone when they're not dressed the way you want them to be dressed? Do you love someone when they come to you smelling in alcohol, but they need your help because you have a word to help them out? See, we've got to deal with character, be real about character, because the true character of who you are is not based when everything's going good. It's based what do you do when challenge comes. Woo. This is why King says, I quote, he said, the measure, someone say measure. The measure of a man is not based on their time of comfort, but rather how they deal with challenge and controversy. So I really know who you are when challenge comes your way. And in life, someone say in life. In life, a lot of your opportunities are based on character in the preparation stage. Based on character in the preparation stage. Because the things I learn now are going to help me in the future. The challenges I overcome now are going to help me in the future. This is where character is built. And I have a phenomenal story, and I got a lot of time, so I'm good. Are y'all still here? Y'all still here? I'm on time. So this is the chaplain of senators and congressmen in Washington, D.C. I heard this when I was at a church I go to in Miami, Florida called Trinity. Someone say Trinity. Good church, we go to Miami. So I'm here, and the senior pastor gets up, and he's part of this leadership program, and he talks about how there's this chaplain. He's chaplain for Congress and all that good stuff. And he talked about his story. He said he was a young man in Baltimore, Maryland, and he didn't grow up in the most favorable conditions. But his mother stressed to him education and stressed to him good morals and values. So no matter what your situation looks like, your values can get you out. Say it again. No matter what your situation looks like, your values can get you out. I tell people there's three things that determine your success. Number one, your vision. Number two, the people you surround yourself with. And number three, your value system. Your beliefs, ideologies, and philosophies that dictate your behavior can have a determination where you'll be in the next 5, 10, 15 plus years. So his mother instilled values in this young man. Bad situation, good values. Oh, I can stay here for a minute. Bad upbringing, good values. Bad neighborhood, good values. Good values will always overcome evil that surrounds you. I'll say it again. Good values will always overcome evil that surrounds you. Say it one more time. Good values will always overcome evil that surrounds you. That's a good tweet right there. Okay, so we're going to go. So he has right values. So he begins to do well in school, and he's very educated, and he's reading, and he's studying speakers. And in the summertime, because he's a college student, he's trying to how he's going to take care of his family. And so as he's growing up, he grew up in church, and so he would do these ministries in the South. In one particular summer, he's in the South, and I believe it's South Carolina. Hey, Angelo. He's in South Carolina. And he's at this revival, and there's this woman he meets. She looks good. Mm-hmm. Some of y'all look at someone here. Ooh, I can't wait to talk to them. She looks good. Looks good. Good. So they develop a relationship, and she says, "I want you to come here for spring break." So he goes to visit her for spring break, and you guys know about spring break. I'm in, South Carolina, and I'm at the beach, Myrtle Beach, and she kind of gets there, and she says, "I just want you to know, my sister went out of town, and so we only have one bedroom, and we're gonna have to sleep together." Oh, okay. Now remember, he's a preacher, so sleeping with people, how that goes. Yeah. So he's a preacher, and so he says, well, my value system is I don't want to sleep with you because you're beautiful, and I may end up, so I'm going to sleep in the bathtub. True story. I'm going to sleep in the bathtub. I'm going to put a pillow on my head every night, and I'm going to say, God, help me, because there's a beautiful woman, and I'm in the bathtub. But he says, my value system on what I live. This is what I do. He's not pushing his value on her. He says, this is my value system. And we got to respect people's values. Just because you're different doesn't mean I have to hate you. You have your own opinion, and I love you no matter what. Matter of fact, I may disagree with you, but I still love you. And I can't hate you because you don't agree with me, because no one agrees with anyone on everything. If you agree, say, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So this is his value system. So he's in the bathtub, and he's every day. She probably looks good. Can you imagine what she's looking like? Just visualize what she looks like. They're at the beach and everything. He's there, and for 7 days he doesn't sleep with this woman. So for 7 days he's in the bathtub because he's living out his values. Y'all still here? So he leaves there, and all of a sudden the woman just cuts him off. He doesn't even hear from her no more. I mean, ain't that kind of cold? He has good character, morals and values, and you just cut him off. She cuts him off. But his career begins to take off. He goes into the military. He does well in the military. He just does better and better. I mean, if he's a chaplain for the senators and the congressmen, okay, we won't go there today. Then he's a very, he's doing something right. So his career continues to elevate. 20 years later, he's back speaking in this area. The woman comes in and she's bawling in tears. And he says, what's wrong? He says, you don't understand. He says, no, it's cool. I'm not tripping. Cool. Hey, I'm doing good. I got someone else sitting up there. No, I'm doing good. Don't worry about it. He says, no, you don't understand. He says, no, I'm doing good. And then finally said, okay, what's wrong? She looks him in the eye. She said, I've been feeling bad for 20 years because when you came to South Carolina, I was actually pregnant. And I wanted you to have sex with me so that I could say the baby was yours. That's what I wanted to do. So in essence, watch this. His character protects him from evil. Woo! Man. So as a leader, you're going to be elevated. I like what Biggie Smalls says, more money, more problems. It's coming. It is. People are going to want to take you down. This is true. This is true. Just expect it. But if you keep the right character, your character will protect you. And what we don't talk about enough when it comes to leadership, if you don't ask the question, does your character match your vision? We talk about the vision, we talk about the goals, but does your character match? Because your vision will get you there, but your character will keep you there. I'll say it again. Your vision will get you there, but your character will keep you there. Someone say, oh yeah. Oh, yeah. Give yourself a round of applause. I'm on time today. I'm focused. I'm on time. I'm never on time. Someone say number 4. Are you having a good time, by the way? Yeah. Are you having a good time? Yeah. If you got something already, raise your hand. Raise your hand if you got something already. Okay. Y'all ready? You're ready to go? Number 4. Y'all ready? Yeah. Fourth thing you must be is you must be an adaptable leader. Someone say an adaptable leader. Man, now this right here, if you're going to be an effective leader of the 21st century, in a time of change, in a time of reformation and rebuilding, you got to be adaptable. What is adaptable? Adaptable means, number 1, you have an ability to adapt, obviously. You have an ability to adjust. You have ability to be flexible. And you have an ability as a leader to change up your leadership styles in order to reach certain types of people in a diverse community. I'll say that again. An adaptable leader can go into Africa from LA and adapt to reach that group of people. Then they can fly all the way to China and go into China and reach that group of people. Then they can go to another environment, let's say Brazil, and they can reach that people. Como estás, mi llamo Joshua. Okay, so they can do the adaptability in order to meet these different types of people. And this is what you have to understand. We live in such a diverse community. We have political arena. We have the entertainment industry. We have business. We have engineering. We have higher ed. And if things work out the way they are projecting, there's a chance that you may actually have a job in each of these different arenas. And the language and the way in which you carry yourself and do things may be different in different arenas. In entertainment, you may be able to come to work in, a polo shirt and some jeans, but if you're in corporate America, they may want a suit and tie and all the things going on. Are you still here? Yes. So I have to be able to adapt my skill set, my leadership styles, in order to effectively reach the people I need to reach. You got to be adaptable. So you got to be adaptable. Why is adaptability important? Adaptability is important because we already know that culture changes. We know that society is changing. We know that organizations change. We know that things evolve and things change. And as we get to and later into the 21st century, things are going to change. Which means if we're wise, there are certain methods or things that we can do now that may not work in the future. And if we are not adaptable to this change, then we may not reach our fullest potential. I'm going to give you an example. It's going to speak to you right now. Did you know that in 2002 there was no Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter? It was non-existent. Just 12 years ago. In the 20th century, there was no Twitter. There was no Facebook. There was no Instagram. There was no group chat. There was no Vine. There was no YouTube. There was no LinkedIn. It was not even existent. But yet, in the 21st century, if you're going to be an effective leader, if you're going to be an effective organization, you are forced to adapt to a social media, technology-centered culture and generation. And if you don't adapt, you may miss out on your effectiveness and your relevance. So which means if I've been my whole life doing something a certain way, and since technology has flew out the roof and social media flew out the roof, if I don't learn social media, if I don't learn technology, if I don't implement it into my leadership style, then I may just miss out on opportunities. So my inability to adapt to the culture and society can cause me to miss out on future opportunities. There's an article in the Huffington Post, and they said, and I quote, they said 1,400 women in the workplace stated that adaptability and flexibility were the most needed skills. 1,400 women, adaptability, flexibility. Why? Because our dynamics are changing. Tell people in diversity, 85% of the new workforce is women, minorities, or immigrants. The greatest 85% of personalities lead to arguments in the workplace. And we don't even talk about personalities when it comes to diversity. Are y'all still here? Yeah. See, diversity is so broad. Diversity is not just cultural. Diversity is differences. Sexuality, that's diversity. Philosophy, that can be diversity. Religion, that can be diversity. Gender, that can be diversity. And our workplaces are so diverse that if we don't understand how to be sensitive, someone say sensitive. If we're not sensitive to these differences, then it can affect us from reaching our fullest potential as leaders because we're not adaptable. Anybody remember Blockbusters? Yeah. Remember Blockbusters in 1998? I just get the gummy worms and the drinks and the milk duds and the popcorn. And when you were in college and you were trying to make top ramen taste like steak, you could actually go on a $10 date. You know what I'm saying? Let's get a Blockbuster movie. Chill at home. Movies $4, popcorn's $5. Hey, I'm paying. And we can watch a movie. But notice, this was a big, powerful organization. Everybody knew about Blockbusters. I mean, they were everywhere. But in the 20th century, something happened. In a matter of a decade, 12, 14 years, Blockbusters is non-existent. What company took out Blockbusters? Netflix. Why did Netflix take out Blockbuster? Because Netflix understood the change in culture and society, and they were willing to adapt. Blockbusters was powerful and was big, but yet they were too stubborn to change. And so what happened is they deteriorated because they were stuck in the 20th century and weren't moving in the 21st century. Now, this is a powerful truth, and you just watch what I'm about to tell you. In the next 20 years, you're going to see this happen. There will be major organizations today that will be nonchalant in the next 20 years because leadership is unwilling to change. They are not willing to adapt to a culture and a society. And if a company, if leaders, if people are unwilling to change, they will miss the boat. And today, Blockbusters is nonchalant. I don't even know where Blockbusters is at, and I travel all over the country. It's gone because they were unwilling to adapt. Now, Netflix was small. They weren't big right off the bat. They were chilling. They were small right here. We small group right here, but we got big vision, and we're about to adapt. So all the stubborn folks, keep being stubborn. You know why? Because they're going to set me up to receive what they used to have. Here it goes. I get inspired when I speak. Anybody heard? I just I get a premonition. So here it comes. We're in a shift. Someone say a shift. And there's a shift that's going on. There's a shift of leadership. There's a shift of organizations. There's a shift of doing things. There's a major shift going on in this nation if you do not know it or not. And those who are going to successfully make the shift are going to be those who are able to adapt. I even have to evaluate myself and make sure I'm adapting. My fiance tells me I'm behind schedule. She tells me, no, she says I'm behind schedule. You're not up to date with technology. Your technology's out of whack. She said, Joshua, why are you selling a paper book when you have a generation that downloads books electronically? She says, why do you sell a CD when people are going on iTunes to download music? You're wasting your time. I said, you got that right. I got to change some stuff. And I got to adapt to what's going on. But as leaders, we have to be willing to adapt. Oh, here we go. But it's hard for us to adapt when we're so used to doing something that's worked for every year after year after year. That's when it gets tough. It's tough to adapt when the change takes us into a place of uncertainty. That's when it gets challenging. When the change requires you to do something you've never done before. We're here now. I'm at a point, and it's got me here. But change has come. Shift has come. But in order for me to get out, I got to leave the comfortable and step into the uncomfortable. And this walk of uncomfortability leads me into my fifth point, which is a word called resilient faith. Someone say resilient faith. Resilient, an ability to bounce back, an ability to endure, an ability to persevere. There has never been a great leader that has not had to endure. There has never been a great leader that didn't have to bounce back. There's never been a great leader that had to push forward. But I add the word faith on it because faith says this. It says, I'm willing to step, although I'm not sure of what the outcome will be. And so resilient faith is the concept where I'm going to keep enduring and I'm going to keep pushing forward and I'm going to keep pursuing, although I'm uncertain of how it's actually going to happen. The vision is so big, I can't really tell you how it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. The dream is so big, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. Dr. King says, and Winston Churchill says this, he says, success is not final, failure is not fatal, it's the courage to continue that counts. Well, Josh, this whole year I've been trying, and it ain't happening. I'm giving up. Well, Mark Summers, former game show host of Double Dare, said he came to LA when he was 18. He didn't get his first game show until he was 34 years of age. 16 years of pursuing his dream. A lot of rejection, a lot of failure, a lot of fear. Dr. King says, and I quote, he says, take the first step of faith. He says, you don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step. Powerful concept, because he understands, well, I don't know if we're going to bring forward civil rights in this country. I don't know if there's going to be equality, but I have a dream that one day, A plus B plus C plus D plus E is going to happen. I mean, I'm in the South, and there's some really racist people. But I have a dream that one day it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And by the way, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. And just want you to know, fellas, ladies, I may not get there with you, but I've been to the promised land. Oh, here we go. Circle of change. I may not get to the dream with you, but I've already saw you there. I'm not sure who's going to help you get there, but they've already determined to come. I don't know when the funding's going to come, but I know it's going to come. So I had a dream. I may not get there with you, but we're about to get there. Because I've stepped into faith, and I believe that there's no endurance, there's no challenge, there's no hate, there's nothing that will stop me from getting into my destiny. And this attitude, someone say attitude. This attitude of resilient faith brings forth equality.